not me, but the one we know. You can post it up on the board there too. So next up, we have Rob Colbert. I want to say Colbert. Colbert, excuse me. Advocates through his research and practice for the benefits of conscious use of substances like MDMA and other psychedelic drugs. Currently, he's a doctoral student at the California Institute of Integral Studies, proposing in his dissertation to explore how young couples today use MDMA to enhance their relationships and lives. Rob also has a master's degree in counseling psychology from Naropa University, where he acted as a founding member of the Naropa Alliance for Psychedelic Studies. Rob is passionate about harm reduction models, especially as applied to young people, and today he's going to show us how drug testing kits work and how these kits can contribute to individual and community safety. Please welcome Rob.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to sit down at a table because we're going to be doing some drug testing today. I suppose there's probably a few people out there that might be doing some drug testing. So to start out with, Molly. Molly, the name, of course, on the street is short for the term molecule, meaning pure, right? So Molly has been used regionally for different reasons. Around here, typically Molly is referring to MDMA. However, it might refer to any number of drugs, MMDA, MDA, MDE. I know I'm throwing out some acronyms there, but they're really long names that I don't want to pronounce. Recently at Sonic Bloom, actually, it showed up that there were people who were pretty confident that they were taking MDMA. However, upon urine analysis, they were on ethylone, or MDE. Similar effects, however, not known to be as empathogenic or as connectedness and stimulating as MDMA. So either way, these people thought they were taking MDMA, but had been taking MDE. So since Prohibition in the 1980s, MDMA has become one of the foremost reported illicit substances. Right? It's also the most widely used amphetamine-like drug among college students and high school-age students. From a harm reduction standpoint, one of the biggest risk factors for Molly or MDMA is that it is a powder. It typically comes in a powder form or a pressed pill. Powders are easily, you can add adulterants to it fairly easily. They can be cut with things, they can be replaced with things. Pressed pill is the same thing. They use a lot of different compacting compounds to get it to hold its shape. So people who are taking MDMA are also taking other things, typically. And so when it's done on the street, there's no regulation. Anybody can kind of just decide what they want to put in there. You know, they got some Ajax in the bathroom, or I'm talking worst case scenario, but typically it's another research chemical or something that's going to induce similar effects, but not necessarily what we're looking at. So. One method for reducing the harm from adulterants, or if you know people who are going to be experimenting with unknown substances, of course, is a drug testing kit, right? And so, can we get the... It's on? Sorry, my password's too secure. Okay, here we go. So yeah, what we have here, I have the kit, actually a set of 3 different kits that are sold by Bunk Police. Bunk Police are one of the people that put out these different kits. They have a Marquis kit, a Mandolin kit, and an Ehrlich kit. We're not actually going to use the Ehrlich kit today. This is typically used to test for things like DMT or LSD, which are psychedelics, but not in the class that we're referring to today. So let's see. These kits are sold. They're intended to use to identify unknown substances for harm reduction purposes only. Test kits, from a harm reduction stance, these are a non-coercive method of harm reduction strategy. It's non-coercive because sometimes as professionals, if I work a lot with adolescents, and I can work with kids that, all day they could sit there and tell me that they're not going to do drugs or that they'd never try them or this or that, but then when they leave my office, yeah, anything's possible, right? So typically, a lot of the tools we have is to, suggest maybe abstinence programs, or if they have been experiencing substance abuse, like treatment programs or this or that. The just say no thing doesn't typically give people a lot of other options, or really the ability to discover choice in their own life. So having test kits available like this are a non-coercive way to kind of talk about the dialogue of being safe when you use drugs. So to use kind of it's a semi-fabricated example, right? Of a young client of mine had recently started experimenting with different substances with friends. They were going to concerts, going to the First Bake Center, or other venues like that, and had been introduced to different substances. Some were pressed pills, some were powders. There were even people doing nitrous whippets at the party and stuff. And so had come to me and said, we've experimented a little bit with some substances, and we met someone that offered to sell us some. And so, as a professional, I can sit there and talk with this gentleman all day about the dangers of drugs or this or that. But essentially what this person needs to navigate is they need to decide what their relationship is with this person that they're thinking about buying a substance from. So in a way, I'm suggesting that they try and navigate a healthy relationship with their drug dealer. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I really, that's the best thing I could advocate for this kid. And it sounds ridiculous to say, have a good, healthy relationship with your drug dealer. But then at the same time, it's not so weird to think of asking someone to have a healthy relationship with their psychiatrist, right? I say it that way, and everybody's like, oh, well, no, that's good. We need that. So you need to trust the person that you're getting substances from, right? And so if I can't protect this kid and make sure that he's getting it from the right people, well, at least I can tell him about tools, or let him, check this out from me and take this and experiment himself to find out if this is a healthy relationship. So in this fabricated story, the gentleman decides him and his friend are going to buy a powder, right? And so we'll say that they went up on the hill, up by the, Fox Theater, or maybe they're even out on Pearl Street, found someone willing to sell a powder. So what they end up with is a nice little bag like this. Call them stamp bags, I think, on the street. So this gentleman's excited. He's like, okay, so I got this really kick-ass therapist that offered to give me his test kit so I can even find out what I'm doing. Sorry, I'll get this going again. Okay. Anyway, so this gentleman can basically decide, inform what he's going to do later with his friend, right? And so, where'd the camera go? Now the results will probably be a little bit difficult to see, but we'll do our best here, okay? So this is how I would use a kit. It doesn't take a lot. They suggest about 10 milligrams, which is about the size of a match head, to get an accurate test. And so it's just a little bit of powder in there. Now there's different regions. This is the marquee. Now you can see that it'll test for quite a range. I don't know if it'll autofocus or not. But the black and purple are the MDE, MDA, MDMA, MDB, different things like that. So that's kind of the scale that this gentleman was hoping to find, right? So this marquee set is set up to do it. Now on this marquee set, what it is it's a test that ranges over 30 seconds. In the first 5 seconds, we'll see one color. And this, from like 5 to 15 seconds, we'll see another. And then up to 30 seconds, we will have a final color. And those will give us a range, right? So as I do this, we'll notice too that the region is its own color. And so even with shaking it up, what's worrisome right now for me is it's not changing much from the color of the region. I don't know if you can see in there. This isn't the best situation for it. But there's actually not a reaction taking place. So what this is letting me know is that, well, first off, I didn't get MDMA. I didn't get MDE. I didn't get MDA. I didn't get anything actually on this whole set, right? So it's not ketamine. It's not cocaine. It's not codeine. It's not mescaline. What do we do now, right? So that's the advantage of having several kits, right? So, at first inspection, this gentleman's kind of like, oh, great, I just got sold something crazy. I don't know what it is. So upon further testing, so the Mendelin test kit tests for a different range. It also, it's an advantage to use several different kits because it can give you a separation of what's going on if you do have multiple substances, if it has been adulterated. They also do set cell separation test kits, which will actually, it's more of a scientific experiment, but can actually separate out and tell you what the different things that you've got in your powder. So with this one, okay, and so this one has actually started to change color, right? So you see the region itself is tan or brown to color, and then what we have going on inside the chamber is actually kind of a range of what looks like olive, right? And so as I go back to my test kit here and I take a look at it, what I see is that let's see, olive range, where's it at? Oh, that's the wrong lid. Like we have no idea what we have. What we'll see is here on the olive squares, you can see that this is actually it's a semi-synthetic opiate, right? This is actually, it's hydrocodone. I have a prescription for it, so it's not a big deal. But so at this point, we can actually see that what I have crushed up in the baggie is nothing related to MDMA, right? The person taking this is going to experience a lot of different effects that don't even resemble what they were hoping to find, right? So what I would, essentially tell this kid is your drug dealer probably full of shit. But essentially, I see this as a community safety strategy, right? If we can get these kiddos that are going to experiment with drugs anyway, if we can get that idea of like a healthy relationship with their drug dealer, like what would it mean if they go out and one of their friends is like, yo, I found this new guy, he's got great deals, and they go through and they test everything and they actually find out that they have like PMA or I don't know, other harmful chemicals like NBOME, different things like that. This drug dealer is not going to last, right? They're not going to be able to sell to these kids. Now, I know that this isn't solving the bigger issues that we're facing with that, but at least we're reducing the harm. At least what we've helped do is keep some of these high school kids from ODing on things that they didn't know what they were taking. Realizing that they're actually starting to get hooked on opiates instead of taking MDMA, which has less addiction ratio. I mean, there's all sorts of different harm reduction things involved, but just kind of wanted to give an example of how this can be used as an idea of community safety, a harm reduction, a non-coercive harm reduction strategy, 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 harm reduction strategy.